So today is my rather sad excuse for a leg day, and as such I figured I'd come over and take a look at a couple of the machines over here that are considered to be pretty simple. A lot of people have seen these. They're typically called a seated calf raise machine. There are standing versions as well. It's kind of funny to call it a calf raise because, it's just, we're naming it after a muscle, and, it's really the calf that's raising everything else through its own action. But, whatever, that's another discussion. Anyway, I wanted to target this particular machine because it's one that people think is pretty simple, right? It's, it's just you stack weight on it and you put your thighs under these pads and press your toes down onto the pad right here, and, through using your calf muscles, you lift the thing up. But it's important to think about, as always, think about the forces, right? Well, first off, where's the thing even moving? The hinge, or the axis here, is all the way in the back, behind the seat. Well, what's that mean? Well, that means, right, that this whole thing is going to move whenever you try to lift the weight, assuming you're strong enough to lift it. So your body weight is contributing to this, okay? Now, the cool thing is it's not contributing to the same degree that the weight you put on the end is. Why? Well, because the moment arm isn't as long. Your body weight's going to be stacked right here, and so, if you weigh 200 pounds and you're centered, let's say, up here, that's about a foot away from that axis, right? So 200 pounds times 1 foot will be 200 pound-feet or foot-pounds of torque, right? That you have to overcome some way. Now, you have a much longer moment arm for the weight here, so whatever you stack on here is going to have, about 3 or 4 times as far as your body is from that axis. So for the same amount of weight, it's going to generate 3 or 4 times as much torque at that joint. So that's something to think about when you're thinking, okay, how much weight am I actually lifting here? And another thing is, when people try to compare the weights they do on these kinds of machines, they very rarely take their own body weight into account. So, I did 3 plates on the calf raise. Well, how much do you weigh too? Because that does enter into it, because like I said, your body weight, at least on this particular machine, your body weight is stacked on the lever on this side of the axis, which means that your muscle effort to lift these pads and lift the whole apparatus is also working to lift your body weight in addition to the weight that you put on the end of the machine. Another cool thing to think about, because again, right, the total torque is going to be dependent, 1, on the weight that's pushing down or on the force being applied to the lever, and 2, on the distance between that force and the axis. You might be able to envision how it would be slightly different depending on how you stack the weights. If I put 5 10s and then a 45, the torque's going to be different than if I put a 45 here and then 5 10s. The one with the 45 all the way out is actually going to result in more total torque than if I did it the other way around. Basically, I'm spreading the mass more towards this end, so I'm putting more of the total weight farther away from the axis. So always be thinking about that, okay? It's a very important thing. And then, again, I've spoken in previous videos about how not only is the torque of the resistance an important thing to think about, the moment arms, or the mechanical advantage that the resistance force has. In this case, that would be, the weight of the whole apparatus, your body weight on this pad, and then the weight down here at the end on the plates, what all those do at the axis. But you also have to think about what your effort is doing, right? And where's your effort applied? Well, your thighs are going to be under this pad, and so you're applying force up here. And where's this? This is about 2 feet, right? Give or take. About 2 feet from that axis. So however much torque you're getting between the whole machine, your body weight here, and the plates down here, add all that up, and then you have to come up with an amount of torque equal to that in order to lift the machine. And that's going to be determined by how far this is. So if this is 2 feet away, then however many pound-feet that's all this stuff that you're lifting is, right? You would have to divide that number by 2, and then that's how many pounds you would have to push up with. And again, calves are going to be pushing up from your balls of your feet, somewhere around here. You can vary your position a little bit, but more or less, you have a pretty consistent point for force application lifting up. So anyway, it's just another of those machines that takes a little bit of understanding really to know what's going on, and I think people take it for granted. So I wanted to talk about that for just a moment, and maybe you'll appreciate a calf raise just a little bit more. Perhaps in a future video when I get a model or some diagrams or something, I can explain a little bit also about how the ankle joint works and how the calves actually, how they generate force and cause movement at that joint, and how the mechanics of that joint in terms of mechanical advantage are a little different compared to most of the other joints in the body and what the muscles have to do. But that's a topic for another video, so thanks for watching.